Ebonizing process is cool. Like everything I had seen it on YouTube, but I don't have like more steel wool with me, I think, but uh, basically you soak steel wool in vinegar. So like I filled up this jar with steel wool and then poured in as much vinegar as would fit. But there's actually a whole process to it where, because I was just following this YouTube video and he said to wash the steel wool first to get all the oil off of it. And so I had a series of plastic containers. I think it was like 5, and I made these like big chopsticks. And so each container had mineral spirits in it. I would dip the steel wool into the first one and like rinse it, and then the next one and rinse it, and then the next one, next. So you get progressively cleaner. Did that with all the pieces to get all the oil off, and then you put it in the jar. So good. Like I worked. This one was 45 hours is how long it ended up being. But basically, the longer you do it, the darker effect you'll.
And so, are you getting to see the color change in this?
Actually, no. The only reason this is this color is because it like got cross contaminated. Like I put the brush back in it. It actually started out being totally.
Oh, really?
So ideally, this would actually look
so
clear.
When you're washing the steel wool, is that do you see the oils coming off of it, or you're just like hoping that every time you wash it, it's on it?
Probably the mineral spirit buckets. You could tell, like
you see a little something.
Yeah, colored. I think that's just so you end up like a clear product. Yeah, there's stuff. I don't know if your vinegar has to be organic or not, but that's just.
That's how we operate in Northern California.
I know. This would get the wood just a little first. And kind of.
And so just open up pores or something.
For some reason, it's supposed to help. Yeah, it's to absorb. Stephanie.
Getting closer.
Get in there. Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid. Just smells like. Just use this felt brush.
Okay.
I think I already got a drop on
it. Oh, wow.
Here
we go.
Stephanie smiles. She loves it.
I don't smell.
Wow.
I don't smell enough. It's a pro.
Ebonizing wood.
You can see how at first the strips over the
It almost feels like watercolor, and then it just goes. It keeps going.
Yeah, and so if you didn't want it to be as dark, you
wipe it off.
You just don't soak it for as many hours. So, like, actually, I made 2 jars. I made one that was 24 hours and one that was this. And I used the whole other, the 24-hour jar is what I used on my parents' table. I think, honestly, the difference is really subtle. Like, you would have to do, like, 12 hours or 6 hours to get like a lighter.
It depends on the slab you have, too, right? Because the amount of tannins and how volatile, I don't know what the word would be, they're going to maybe take differently. Like you're talking about with the sapwood. Depending on what you thought, you might get really different results.
Yeah, that's true. Like the wood that I used from that tabletop, I just purchased from Macbeth and Berkeley. And so, like, I don't know if the boards all came from, they probably didn't all come from like the same tree or whatever, but just all being the same species, the white oak, I guess you can expect they're going to have pretty similar amounts of tannin that produce a similar color. But yeah, I mean, I think ideally for consistency, you would have all the wood from the same tree.
Yeah. Yeah. It's good.
Yeah, and then I wiped off. It's a little better when it brushed more.
So this when it dries is a pretty matte finish. It would just be like a right board with the reactions.
Yeah, I mean, it would end up looking kind of like this.
Yeah.
And yeah, I could go again. Yeah, I'm doing like the giant tabletop. It's hard to like just like work in sections. But I wanted to like have strokes that went the full length.
You
So
need
that
to do like the industrial artist paint your mop on the ceiling where you just have a mop going back and forth.
you know, like it's squeegee or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you have the space. Next time you can just hang it from one side of the line. Oh, a little rig, a little like a zip line for you here. Just underneath
Makes
the
me
line.
think of Big Lebowski version.
Yeah.
So for your parents' table, it actually has like much more of a chocolate. That's just because it was a walnut.
No, that was the same wood. It was
Oh, it's the
white
same
oak.
as this. Wow.
Yeah, so I think it'll get darker over the next
Yeah.
like hour.
Wow.
And maybe a second coat made it a little darker.
I mean, but it's like changing right
and
before
also,
your eyes.
yeah,
It's
you see
really
it's getting
deep.
darker. And then also
Wow.
I put a protective finish over the top, which I think
Yes.
maybe made it even a little bit darker. But yeah, you can tell it's kind of going the color of
I
the table.
see. It's kind of like magic.
So it's really cool. It's like it's not a stain
Mm-hmm.
like an office like it's not like a manufactured thing.
It's like a
It's
natural block.
it's a chemical reaction.
Yeah.
It's just the iron reacting with the tannin.
Good.
It's just vinegar, iron, and reacting with the wood, and it makes a really cool
Really
color.
rich
You know?
rock.
It's like
That's awesome.
so. I know my mom thought that was pretty neat that it was like this
I
natural.
did too. I remember when she told
reaction.
me, she's like, well, he's not staining it. He's actually doing this chemical reaction. I'm like, excuse me?
Yeah,
Tell me more.
and then the only thing is that where you have sapwood,
Yeah.
which this piece doesn't have, the sapwood doesn't go as dark. It doesn't have as much tannins, I guess.
Mhm.
But like there's certain spots on the table, including in the legs, I remember, where you'll see some areas aren't as dark, and that's because it was the sapwood being like, you know, the outer part of the tree.
Mhm.
Often, usually the sapwood is different color than the heartwood is
Mhm.
in the middle.
You
But
didn't
yeah,
hear
you can see
Yeah.
and how you can really see the grain still with this.
Wow.
You know,
Oh, I got it. Yeah. What would you say
Cool,
is
right?
the difference in how the grains come through between a stain and this? Anything or like how does it accentuate or not or
I don't know. That's a great question. Because I know I just said that. I I think with any stain, you'd still be able to see the wood grain, you know,
Yeah.
as opposed to like paints,
Yeah.
like covering it up or. But what I like about this is that, unlike like if you were doing like polyurethane or some sort of film
Yeah.
coat over it, like here you can still really like see the pores of the wood. It's not like creating like a layer over the top, you know.
Right.
It's like
You can
it's
feel it.
just into the wood.
Yeah.
Um, you totally are still going to be able to see. Well, I mean, yeah, it's not unlike stain, but just the way that it changes the color is obviously different.